So the title of my talk is what is human? And what is humanness? I think this is we all are talking about humanness and we think what it is. For me, this is a lifelong question and lifelong search. So to start with that, first let us listen to a song of the Magic Flute by Mozart. Then these hollow halls, it was a song of Sarastro in the Magic Flute. Within these hollow halls, one knows not revenge, and should a person have fallen, love will guide him to duty. Then wanders here on the hand of a friend, cheerful and happy into a better land. Within these hollowed walls, where humans love the human, no traitor can lurk, because one forgives the enemy. Whomever these lessons do not please deserves not to be a human being. In Mozart's song, the enamored Tamino comes together with Pamina. Both are initiated into the temple of wisdom. Guided by love, they accomplish what we can call a sacred marriage. What is it? Maybe Mozart's music let us feel what words only weakly describe. They speak of maturity, secrecy, and steadfastness, enabling these hollowed walls to be where human loves the human, no traitor can lurk, because one forgives the enemy. And then the song closes with the intriguing words, whomever these lessons do not please deserves not to be a human being. This song came out in 1791. It was a time where humanism came into its beginnings. It was a time of the French Revolution, and it was a time where humans focused on themselves and separated from the divine in a way. It is the dawn of Western humanism, the cultural matrix which still today structures the psyche not only of the Western mainstream. Who deserves to be a human being? Is human something to be developed? What about the traitors? Humans who are not able to forgive the enemy. Are there humans who are to be excluded from humanity? Are there human beings who don't deserve humanness? When we think about humanness today, we usually associate compassion, selflessness, and other noble values which may point to a close connection with God. The myth of the Jewish Christian Occident made the human being the crown of creation and superior to animals, superior to plants, and superior to all beings. When I think back, 80 years ago, the German Nazis excluded the Jews first from humanness and later from humanity. Today in Myanmar, Buddhist monks who devoted their life to the well-being of all beings and are not able to kill any insect agree to burn down villages of the Muslim minority. Rich or European countries allow their thousands of refugees from war, poverty, and climate damage drown into the Mediterranean. The exclusion from humanness is worldwide. It is a phenomenon of big collectives and also happens in small groups, as we call it cooling out or bullying. There is torture and there is a rape of women. There is abuse on many levels. Innocent children are affected. Are the perpetrators human beings too? Yes, they are. Are they evil human beings who have to be excluded from humanity? The civil law knows the term preventive detention, the exclusion of dangerous criminals from civil life. What is humanness? Is humanness cosmic love? This, my dear friends, depends on the human perspective. Here's a quote of the German priest and Zen master Williges Jäger. It says, enlightenment is not the instant when the water drop says, I am the ocean. It is not. But when the ocean says, I am the water drop. My next chapter is concepts about what is human. Here's the story of God and his creations. The planet Earth, plants, animals, and finally Adam and Eve. Humans should be in his image, close to oneness with him. God allowed them to live freely in the Garden of Eden and eat the fruits of all trees. With one exception, you know that. They were not allowed to eat from the apple tree in the center of the garden. Then God says they would die. After a while, the snake appeared and said, you won't die. If you eat from this apple tree, your eyes will open and you will become like God. You will know what is good and what is evil. You will know who you really are. Of course, Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit. They became aware of their nakedness and they felt ashamed. They were aware of themselves and they felt as traitors of God and hid from his face. God reacted with damnation. To the snake, God said, thou art cursed above all the livestock and all the beasts of the field. And God said, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. God threw Adam and Eve out of the paradise. Adama in Hebrew language means earth, spread out into the four winds. Eve means snake, female snake. The earthling, the man, was spread out on earth. So was the woman. Her female power was cursed. The big separation from God, God above in heaven, Adam and Eve, guilt-stricken, spread out into the four winds. They were homeless. Man above, woman below, or nature below. Heaven's doors were closed and guarded by Archangel Michael with a sword. This is a very old story, but it is a powerful one. It is very efficacious for more than 2 millennia. The story tells us what human is and what is the divine. Separated from God, the human being knows what is good and what is evil. Alienated from God, the human being allegedly knows what is good and what is evil. God said to the man, "Out of your grove you shall eat bread until return to the ground from which you were taken." God said to the woman, "I will intensify your toil in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Yet your urge shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you." God set enmity between the snake and the woman. The snake will step in your heel, and you will step on her head. So far the story. Once I saw a client. He said that he felt lost in the universe and that even God can't find him anymore. His story was about panic and overwhelming existential fear. He was not able to be on earth. His life was describing the condition of the human disconnectedness. Fear of becoming mad, fear of death is the basis. Western people are used to think in categories of individual distinction. There is, for example, the free will. What do I want? And what do you want? What is mine and what is yours? Particular psychotherapists are attached to this view. Often it is about mama and papa and how the story returns in adult relationships. But our parents also were human beings who are part of their ancestral road, part of their social, intellectual, and spiritual field. We don't come out of families detached from the context. There is a Californian yoga teacher and psychotherapist, transpersonal psychotherapist, Mariana Kaplan. She coined the term of spiritual matrix in the end of the 1990s. And then, of course, there's Rupert Sheldrake. In his biological research, he came out with the terms morphogenetic field, respectively morphic fields. Hellinger talks about the healing field. These fields are gigantic networks for all, and they are form-giving for all beings. And humans are embedded in that. Maybe these fields can be related to what the Indians call the Akasha coding. The morphic field of the so-called Jewish Christian Oxford coins and colors individual life, collective and political decisions, and what many people, Western people, feel and what many people experience as the spiritual. This morphic field gives form to what Western people believe to be human, what is the inanimate and what is the living nature. This means that even if a human individual is aware of his or herself, then apparently this being does not seem to live their essence, to live from the place who this being really is. The field gives form to their lives, and in the field they are separated from God, from animals, from plants, from the earth, from fire, from water, and from the air. Men and women are separated, and both are separated from themselves. And because of these many splits, because of alienation and because of separatedness, there is an ongoing fight on many levels. This fight prevents intimacy between men and women. Maybe the prevented intimacy between men and women is the core of our story. What is human and what is it not? Fighting and ruling averts intimacy between men and women, and between men and between women. Fighting prevents the human's intimate relationship with the world, with the oneness and with the interrelatedness of our world, which would be just another word for the intimate connectedness with the divine. We also can see this separatedness as a story describing the Western identity. Our ego in its best sense. It is a concept about humans' relationship to nature and also to the divine. Some, nevertheless, may assume that this is the truth, but it is only a story. Are we at the crown of God's creation? Are we raised above all animals? Are we humans standing above all nature? Do humans have a free will? Do humans have a soul? Do humans have more intelligence, more language, more consciousness than all the nature? What about the spiritual path? Many think the spiritual path is about raising up from our animal nature. The story of the fall of man created a clear hierarchy. God, man, woman, animal, all the other nature. And this view we also can find in modern humanistic and transpersonal worldviews. For example, there is the human body and its basic needs. The social conventions to make possible a living together, the ego strength as a regulative and agent for a free will, then the lower self, then above the higher self. And what is coming from above, leading our lives, gives direction and meaning. Are humans very special among all the other animals? Are they the only beings with a soul carrying a spark of God in them? Here I give you a quote of the book Homo Deus of Yuval Harari. It says, in 2012, July 7, leading experts in the field of neurobiology in cognitive sciences at the University of Cambridge signed the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness, which says, convergence evidence indicates that non-human animals have the neuroanatomic, neurochemical, and neurophysiological basis to create conscious states as well as to show intentional behavior. The weight of this evidence thus suggests that humans are not the only ones who have the neurological functions which generate consciousness. Non-human animals, including all mammals and birds and many other creations, including cuttlefish, also have these neurological foundations. But the public belief of the hierarchical order is still very strong. And it is not only a Western story. In my work in China, once a student said to me, when you're an animal in China, you have a very bad destiny. Humans presume to have the right to repress wild animals to remote corners of the planet. I once saw a children's puzzle, and on the picture of this children's puzzle we could see there was a tiger and a giraffe and a rabbit, and they were playing together. This is how many adults present the world to their children, but it is a lie. In the real world, the picture is a cow and another cow and another cow, then a pig and another pig, and a chicken and another chicken. The World Agricultural Report of 2018 says that humans repressed 83% of wild living animals, replacing them by domesticated ones. Animals are used as livestock. Animals become optimized with the intention to become well-tasting flesh, and they have to live under cruel conditions. In the ears of many cows, pigs, sheep, there is a digital information about their weight, the quality of flesh, and time and place of their death. The only sense of their lives is to become food, to become cheap food. The idea to see animals as soulless, as mechanical beings, is due to the human attitude to exploit and to kill them. Why do humans eat animals? Even if it is destructive for the planet, even if it is destructive for ecology and also for their own health. Because then a human being can feel superior to other beings. Many spiritual traditions teach also to defeat the animal inside the human psyche. There is a tendency to ascribe, to attribute the so-called negative emotions, greed, hatred, destructivity, and so on, to our so-called animal nature. Descartes called it res extensa and res cogitans, the mechanical animal with the rational human, and the ability to decide by means of his free will. But to me, this seems to be another elephant in the living room, the so-called free will. For neuroscientists, it's evident that 98% included the Nobel Prize Award bearers. 98% of our decisions are caused by neuronal and hormonal processes. Also, systemic psychology knows the interdependence of our decisions from the field we live in. And if you seriously think about your own life, how many important life changes happen due to your free will? Transpersonal psychotherapy knows also different ways of working with the so-called animal shadow. In holotropic states of consciousness, these so-called negative emotions come up as an evolutionary process. If the experiencer dares to follow his greed, ignorance, envy, hatred to the bottom line, these emotions don't have to be defeated. They transform into benevolent feelings. Ignorance can transform into humbleness, envy to gratitude, greed to divine urge, hatred to dissolution, and all-encompassing love. Sometimes also people have experiences of wild animals. Here is a personal story of mine. Some time ago, I personally was on a shamanic journey on the River Nile. From there I did a walk into the Egyptian desert. I walked alone up and down the sand hills of the Sahara. I felt encompassed in a silent energy. All of a sudden, maybe 30 or 20 meters in front of me, a wolf appeared. It also came from one of the hills. In this moment, I was not afraid, but I felt very existential. With a clear view, the wolf looked at me, I looked at him, our eyes met. 2 or 3 minutes just stillness. Then, silently, the wolf turned away. I felt that I hadn't to go anywhere. I didn't have to reach out for anything and anyone. With now trembling knees, I felt arrived. There was no hierarchy between the wolf and me. Don Gad and Christopher Cohn, you know them maybe as the authors of the Spiral Dynamics. They say that it is possible to overcome the trap of self-centeredness and narcissism when humans again become sensitive of the animal and plants world. When they are speaking with plants, resonating to the energy of a trout in clear waters, listening to the voices in the jungle and discover the soul of the jungle. Maybe then we'll be able to let in the snake's voice, Eve's song of female power, without blaming it from a point of male arrogance, which is fear of losing one's identity. Being lost in chaos and dissolution is a particular fear of death. Eve's voice. For me, there is no doubt that the sacred marriage is the core of humanness. Humanness has many facets, a big diversity of forms to be expressed. Nevertheless, to merge the male and the female is an alchemistic process, creating the goal of humanness. How can the sacred marriage become realized? Some say that this is an inner psychic process. A man becomes aware of his female part, the anima of his animus. Recently, a good friend of mine talked about his sexuality. A good friend of mine gave up her sexual activities with her husband because she felt liberated from all desires and felt the divine love, which, as she said, was 10,000 times more fulfilling than sexual love. Her husband developed a difficult to treat nerve disease. Why then does a woman and a man come together? Is it because of sex? Here are 2 examples. It is a comedy it's also an old story, it's a comedy by Aristophanes. He is a comedian writer of the old Greek theater around 450 years before Christ. In his comedy Lysistrata, love-lorn women lure men into their beds to prevent war. The Greek women of the 4th century before Christ wanted to urge men sexually to peace inside and in the world. In 1961, the comedy was about to be broadcasted in Germany and in German TV station, but then it was forbidden because this comedy would hurt the moral sense of the population. Germans at that time felt so guilty and ashamed after the Nazi war, so many of them shifted this burden into their understanding of sexuality. Another story. It is the hippie story. Make love, not war, the hippies said at the end of the 1960s. 50 years ago, the Beatle John Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono invited the public to their bed-ins. Sex as demonstration for the world peace. For me, it is not only interesting that the public sex of John and Yoko didn't have a direct effect on the world peace, but that it contributed to the collapse of the Beatle group, with the boys using Yoko Ono as a scapegoat. She was blamed to control John's potency. Make love, not war. But apparently, also this kind of intimate relationship was not free of war. Unfortunately, something does not work when we say peace in bed, peace in the world. What I said, the sacred marriage, I wanted to talk a little bit longer about the sacred marriage. And what is the main reason of the sacred marriage? That it's a sexual relationship, and that as long this sexual relationship is directed through our mind, through our free will, through our desires, as long there is war in this sexual relationship. Only when we see that this sacred marriage is a journey comparable to the perinatal journey. For those of you who know the perinatal stage of consciousness, only when we see that the sexual journey and the couple's journey is this perinatal process with all its existential highs and depths, only then it is a moment where the couple helps each other to let go of their egos and repairs an ego death. A sacred marriage, really, the precondition of a sacred marriage is that the couple has an ego death. Only then sexuality can be lived in peace. And then what we discovered is very interesting. Then sexuality becomes a very impersonal process. Then we see that all our evolution is an erotic process, and we are part of this evolution, bringing together the male and the female energy. For this, it's very important that men and women still meet. Only to do this as an internal process, very often it's a light version of the whole thing. That's my experience. So, but can I have a little bit more? So I will bring it together, and I think this is important. We humans are incredibly attached to our stories. They don't have to be true, but they are creating some kind of order for the individual and collective life. This is the intention of each religion. Religion is not interested in truth. It creates stories of salvation and comfort. Science also is not very much interested in truth. Science very often is captivated by power. Spirituality, on the other hand, is the radical discovery of the truth. But it has to be radical, otherwise it becomes an esoteric religion. True spirituality goes beyond concepts and stories. Stories are created by the human consciousness. It is what consciousness does. It creates stories. It is its nature. The Jewish-Christian Occident started with a big must. Humanism replaced this by the free will. The free will is a big I want. Both are stories ending up in a trap, because there's always the limitless desire and this limitless greed to nourish the own ego. The biosciences today see an ongoing evolutionary chain where the human is included as human animal. Intelligence, emotions, language, consciousness are not limited to the human. But humans are the only storytelling beings. Stories don't have to be true, but they create sense and cohesion. They create an ego identity and the basis of social cooperation. Now, as you know about Bernadette reminded me to end, and I could go on with this talk for hours, and contemplating how human beings try to overcome hunger and diseases. They did it, but they did it according to their story of their culture. And these stories encompass individual and collective egos. The story of humanism now is coming to its fulfillment, and so we can become aware of its other side. Humans wanted to do the good, but they were separated from God, from others, from themselves. While trying to do the good for their people, they exploited more and more the treasures of the planet. Asian countries, Russia, North America, in particular Europe, waged wars and invented racist stories of their legitimation. I will not continue with this. Instead, I will ask you just one question. When you hear somebody say, listen to yourself, trust yourself, follow your heart, do what feels good for you, is this what we humans should do to be human? Or is it just another story? What do you think about the free will? What do you think about the drama of decision making? What really is authenticity? What is the authentic expression of the ego? I'm very sorry to say this. In my experience, these are also stories which has the belief system of humanism with all its hierarchies in the background. It is not what humans are. If you courageously look at the results of modern brain research in neurosciences, you may read the sentence I just heard from a friend who commented a difficult relationship with a woman. He said, it was just the result of a hormonal upheaval. Today, the human beings strive to create the human being by its own tools, by artificial intelligence, by biological computer science. The human being will become God and will live eternally. To overcome suffering, disease, old age, and death was the reason why Buddha left his father's kingdom. Nowadays, it is more and more in the hands of pharmaceutical scientists. To create happiness, pharmacology today seems to be much more efficient than spiritual traditions and their advices. The human being will become a set of algorithms. In my age, particularly if people are spiritually interested, many of them become traditionalists when they talk about these things. They feel upset when they hear that living organism just follows algorithms. They oppose and raise the flame of the human uniqueness and godlikeness. Often they are not aware that they advocate the story of Adam and Eve, the fall of man, and the exploitations of the planet. We cannot fight against the evolution because we are the evolution ourselves. We only can surrender, and sometimes this is a true ego death. But there is no reason to become upset, because everything I mentioned here are just stories. Individual stories, collective ones, and spirituals. The truth of our world, the question of who I am, is a mystery beyond stories. Computer sciences will help us to understand. Computer and neurosciences will confront the human race with what spiritual traditions since their onset call the void, shunyata, stillness. It will be a deep look into the mirror where we see ourselves. And what we discover, there is a stillness which is beyond the absence of noises. Stillness beyond all stories. Then, just we love and we don't understand. Thank you very much.